I'm very happy that you want to give Ashtanga a go. It's a beautiful practice. It's a little bit daunting because it's quite physical. That's why we're doing the beginner's version today. We're moving slow and every pose will be explained step by step, so nothing to be scared of. Traditionally, you're not drinking during the practice. Traditionally, you're also not using any props unless you're working with an injury. And traditionally, you're doing chaturangas in Ashtanga. However, we're not doing chaturangas today because, quite frankly, hardly anyone gets them right. And there are lots and lots and lots. And at the end, even I start to get sloppy. So instead, we're lowering down the knees and then the belly, coming into cobra pose instead. If you're working on your chaturangas, I have a specific video going through that. And once you're confident, you can do them. All right, we're going to start in mountain pose at the top of the mat. Have your big toes touching. Have your heels a centimeter, an inch apart. Your arms are by your side, the shoulders relaxed. Tailbone is long, ribs together. Go a little bit taller. Holding here, closing your eyes. And then try to engage in your Ujjayi breathing. So Ujjayi breathing, you're inhaling and exhaling through the nose. You're making an ocean wave sound as you inhale and exhale. So same action as if you're whispering, fogging a mirror, or doing a Darth Vader impression. So it comes from the throat. It's not a nasal breathing as such. If you're not quite sure, for now, just inhale and exhale through the nose. Gently blink your eyes open. Surya Namaskara A, sun salutation. Take your arms up. Have your palms touching. Look towards your thumbs. Press your palms. Your arms are straight. Hold here and then slowly fold forward. Keep your back straight. Lower down your arms as well and your head, and then relax. Your fingertips come onto the mat and your fingertips line up with your toes. So bend your knees as much as you need to. So first you're folding forward with a straight back, and once you're down, you're relaxing. You're rounding your back, your head is heavy. Now you straighten everything out. Your legs go straight, your torso goes straight, your arms are straight as well, and you place your hands onto your shins. Could be your thighs. If you're very flexible in the hamstrings, it could also be fingertips on the mat. But I'm going to work with the hands on the shins today. Holding here, suck your belly in. Shoulders away from the ears. Neck is long. And then bend your knees, bend them a lot. Place your hands onto the mat. Spread your fingers. The whole of the hand presses down. Step back into plank pose. From plank, bring the shoulders forward. Place the knees down. Bend the elbows backwards. Lower all the way onto your belly. Slowly and controlled, as much as you can. Point your toes, lift up into a low cobra, elbows bent backwards, shoulders away from the ears, toes are pointed, tailbone long. And then slowly lower your nose to a hover, press yourself up. Come into a brief child's pose. So your hips go towards your heels. Then you tuck your toes under. Lift your knees, lift your hips, come into your downward facing dog. In down dog, your feet are about hip distance apart, toes turn in slightly. Hip distance is about 2 fists between your feet. Fingers are spread. Your triceps move towards each other. Hips come as high as you can. I always keep a micro bend in my knees. See what feels best for you. And then look towards your hands and walk your feet forward. Now everything goes straight again. Your legs, your arms, your back. Placing your hands onto your shins, shoulders away from the ears, holding here, fold forward. Round your back, fingertips onto the mat again. Now you come up, take your arms with you over your head. Come up with a straight back. Have a slight bend in the knees, palms touch, look towards your thumbs. Samasthiti. Samasthiti always means you come back to the top of the mat into your starting position, all right? Okay, we're going to go again. We're going to move a little bit faster we try to incorporate our breathing. On your inhale, you raise your arms, palms touch, look towards your thumbs. On your exhale, you fold forward, first with a straight back, then you relax your head down. Fingertips coming onto the mat. Lengthen, lift, everything straightens on your inhale. And exhale, hands down, step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, come into a cobra. Tuck your toes under, sit to heel, downward facing dog. Hold here. Heels come down towards the mat. Neck is relaxed, hips come high. Spread your fingers. The whole of the hand presses down. Hold here. Couple more inhales and exhales. Then lift your heels up, bend your knees slightly, look towards your hands. You can walk forward or you take one step and another step, and then you're at the top of the mat again. Lengthen, lift, inhale, exhale, fold forward, relax your head down. Inhale, come up, take your arms with you, come up with a straight back. Samasthiti here. One more time. Inhale, raise, exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, step back, plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower all the way onto your belly as one. Point your toes, lift up into cobra. Neck stays long, elbows bent backwards. Press yourself up, sit to here, downward facing dog. Stay in your down dog. Deep inhales and exhales through the nose. Try and stay with your ujjayi breathing. And bend your knees, look towards your hands. Again, you can walk, you can step, or if you want to give it a go, you hop forward. Lengthen, lift, inhale, everything straightens. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up with a flat back, palms touch, look up. Samasthiti here. Arms by your side. Traditionally, you do 5 of those. We're going to do 3 and move on to Surya Namaskar B, Sun Salutation B. Have your feet touching, heels centimeter apart. You start in a chair pose. You bend your knees, bring your arms forward, or you can line your arms up with your ears. That's a little bit harder. Shoulders away from the ears, holding here, and then you fold forward. Fingertips come onto the mat. Everything straightens. Your back, your legs, your arms. Hands coming onto your shins. Step back into your plank pose. Bring your shoulders forward, knees down. Lower down as one straight line from the crown of the head to the knees. So no collapsing into the hips. Point your toes, come into a cobra. Tuck your toes under. Downward facing dog. Warrior 1 on the right side. Your right foot comes forward, your left heel comes down. Your feet are on train tracks. So the right foot is further to the right side of the mat and the left foot further to the left. You come up, take your arms with you, hips face forward, gazes forward, chest faces forward. Palms touch, look towards your thumbs. Your back leg is straight, front leg is bent. And then release your hands down, step back into plank pose. Bring your shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Inhale, coming into a cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Other side. So left foot comes forward. Stance doesn't have to be all too wide. So if you have the foot and place it behind your wrist, that's plenty. And your right heel comes down. Coming up. Your hips face forward, your feet on train tracks, not on a tightrope. That's an important thing to know. Holding here, arms come up, palms touch, back leg is straight, front leg is bent, ribs together, tailbone long. And then release. Hands come down, step back into plank pose, shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, come into a cobra. And downward facing dog from here. So catch your breath here in your down dog. And then raise your heels up, Bend your knees slightly, look towards your hands. You decide you want to walk forward, step forward, or jump. I'm going to step. So take one foot forward and then the other foot. Have your big toes touching. Lengthen, lift, inhale, hands come onto your shins. And exhale, fold forward, relax your head down. Now bend your knees, come into your chair pose. Palms together if you can. And Samasthiti. Okay, let's do that again and move a little bit faster. Take an inhale, bend your knees, chair pose. And exhale, fold forward, fingers on the mat. Lengthen, lift, inhale, and exhale, step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower all the way onto your belly. Inhale, lift up, cobra. And exhale, come into your downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, left heel down. Exhale, come up. Take an inhale here and exhale. One more, deep inhale. And exhale, both hands come down, step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, lift up, downward facing dog on your exhale. Inhale, left foot forward, right heel down. Exhale, come up. Take an inhale here and exhale. One more, inhale. On your exhale, you release your hands down, step back into your plank pose. Shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, lift into cobra, and exhale, come into your downward facing dog. So that was a little bit faster. Catch your breath here. Release the heels down. And then bend your knees, look towards your hands, step, walk, or hop forward. Lengthen, lift, inhale, exhale, fold, bend your knees, chair pose, and Samasthiti, arms by your side. One more. So again, traditionally you do 5, we're going to do 3 only. That's plenty. Caught your breath? All right, let's go. Inhale, chair, exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, step back, plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower all the way. Inhale, point your toes, lift into cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now quite fast. Right foot forward, left heel down. Come up. One inhale into your warrior one. And an exhale, step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower onto your belly. Point your toes, lift up, inhale, and exhale, downward facing dog, other side. So left foot forward, right heel down. One inhale, you come up into your warrior one, and exhale, you step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, cobra, inhale, and exhale, downward facing dog. Holding here. And breathe, relax your neck, spread your fingers, heels down. Raise your hips as high as you can. Then bend your knees, look towards your hands, step, walk, or hop your feet forward. Lengthen, lift, inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees, chair, and exhale, Samasthiti, and release. So quite dynamic, especially if you're using or doing it quite fast. All right, so I hope you're nice and warm. We're going to come to the standing series. So we start standing series, hands onto your hips. I'm still going to stay facing forward. So hands come onto your hips and your feet are about hip distance apart. So again, hip distance, it's 2 fists between your feet. Toes turned in slightly. Bend your knees. Hands on your hips. Take an inhale, you lengthen. On your exhale, you fold forward. You're hinging from the hips. Maybe your belly can come onto your thighs even. Then you pick up your big toes, middle index finger and thumb. You lengthen, lift, looking forward. And then exhale, you fold forward, relaxing the neck. Raise the hips as high as you can. Holding here. Your elbows are bending sideways. Have your knees as bent as you need to. You do not have to have straight legs. Hold here. Maybe shift the weight forward a little bit. Neck is relaxed. For 2 more. And 1. Now release your big toes. Bend your knees. Take your hands. Place them underneath the feet until the toes touch your wrist. underneath the feet until the toes touch the wrist. Good, so really go for it. If that's too much, you can start a little bit easier. And then again, you lengthen, lift, you fold forward, relax the neck down. Raise your hips as high as you can. Hold here for 3 more. 2 and 1. Release your hands. Place your hands onto your hips. Come up. Samasthiti here, top of the mat. Now take a step to the right. So stance isn't super wide. We start with triangle. Have your right toes facing forward. Your front heel, back heel, or front heel, back inner arch on one line. So you're now on a tightrope. Extend your arms forward, triangle pose. So for triangle, you first hinge forward and then you place your hands. So if you're familiar, go ahead, stay there. I just want to show you quickly what not to do. So sometimes I see you're here and then you're just going like this. You hinge, you reach, all right? So you're hinging forward and then you're simply bringing your hand down and the other arm comes up. You place your hand on whatever is accessible. You try to have both of your legs straight. So I don't like locking my knee, so I have a bit of a micro bend, but again, I'll leave that to you. So eventually, you're aiming to get hold of the big toe with the middle index finger and thumb, right? Gazes up if possible, holding here. So if you need to rest your hand on your shin, you do that. You can also have your hand inside, hovering. And then look down, coming up, pivot your feet around to the other side. You lengthen, you hinge. So that's one of my favorite moves, to hinge forward. I really like that. And then you simply swivel your arms. Yeah? So go ahead, do your thing. So remember, you're not going like this. You're not shortening your side just to desperately reach the toes. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't. You're hinging, placing the hand, the other arm comes up, and you're here. Gaze is up if you can. If you are looking up, your forehead is above your chin. So not like this. And then look down, come up, pivot your feet around to the other side. Briefly place your hands onto your hips. So first we were on our tightrope. Now we're moving towards a train track. So the right foot comes further to the right and the left foot a little bit further to the left with the toes face forward. The hips square out, so they're no longer open. They're facing now to the short side of the mat. Both legs are straight. So the next pose, a revolved triangle, is quite demanding. It is super important to have the hips facing forward. So check, do you have two shining lights that are facing forward, or are they all over the place? Hands on your hips, fold forward with a straight back. Keep your back as straight as you can. Take your left hand, place your left hand onto the right shin. This may be enough for you at the beginning. Keep your back as straight as you can. So we're working towards bringing the hand down, maybe inside the foot, eventually outside the foot. But if that means you're completely rounding the back, just stay with the hand on the shin. That's plenty. And then twist, twist, twist towards your right leg. And if you feel like taking your right arm up, you could give that a go. Gaze up. Keep your right big toe pressed down. Your right hip draws back as well. You feel the stretch, quite intense. And then look down, come up. Hands onto your hips. Bring your feet around to the other side. So again, you need to adjust your feet a little bit. They are on train tracks. Hips face forward, chest faces forward. Fold, back straight. Take your right hand, placing it onto your left shin. Draw your left hip back slightly. Stay grounded through your left foot. And then start to twist towards your left leg. And maybe your left arm comes up towards the ceiling. Yeah, so this is strength, flexibility, and a lot of balance. So if you're struggling with balance, simply look down. It does help. And maybe also keep your left hand on the hip. Hold here, couple more. And then come up. So before we step to the top of the mat, you square out the feet, you extend your arms to the side, and then Samasthiti here, top of the mat. Take a big step out again, wider this time. Place your hands into your hips. Okay, so wider stance than previously. Turn your right toes out. Your feet are on your tightrope again. Bend your right leg. Extend your arms. You're in a warrior two stance. Bend your right elbow. Place your elbow onto your right thigh. Make sure the shoulder doesn't come forward or to your ear. So you're staying away from that shoulder. The other arm, palms facing up first, and then take it next to the ear. Roll the shoulder down. So again, you're not reaching forward. Shoulder stays away from the ear. Ribs together, tailbone long. So it's quite tempting to arch the back here. Try not to. Also, make sure your right knee stays above your right ankle. All right? Holding here. And then look down. Come up. Arms extended. Pivot your feet around to the other side. Bend your leg. Bend the elbow. Place the elbow onto the thigh. Hold here. Make sure shoulder stays away from the ear. And your elbow and your shoulders are stacked on top of each other. The other arm comes up and over the ear. Roll the shoulder down. Yeah, got it? Hold here. So again, traditionally, the gaze is up towards the hands. If that's too much, neutral position is fine for your neck. Holding here. And then look down, come up. Arms extended. Then place your hands onto the hips. Pivot your feet around. So again, we need to bring our feet into train tracks. So take the right foot further to the right. Take a little step with the left to the left. And the left toes face forward towards, say, 10 or 11 o'clock. You see my hips. So my shining lights face, I don't know even where. I need to spin my hips so they're facing forward. Bend your front leg. Back leg is straight. Front leg is bent. Palms together in front of your heart. Your lower arms create one straight line. Shoulders away from the ears, and they stay away from the ears. Take an inhale. On your exhale, you're twisting towards the right until your left elbow, your left upper arm comes above the right knee, and it's resting there. Yeah? And now we're not collapsing down here. We're pressing the palms together, lifting the chest higher, and the palms move towards the center of our chest. Gaze is up if possible. Your lower arms are still one line. Your right elbow is facing up towards the ceiling. Your back leg is straight, front leg is bent. Keep it that way. And then look down, come up. Woo. Pivot your feet around to the other side. So take your time, adjust them. Hips face forward, chest faces forward, bending your left leg. Right leg is straight. Palms together. Take an inhale. On your exhale, twist. Place your right elbow onto the left thigh. Press your palms. Move your torso away from your thighs. Suck your belly in. Back leg straight, front leg bent. Holding here. Gaze is up if you can. Your lower arms are one straight line. And then look down. Come up. You square your feet. You extend your arms. And then Samasthiti, top of the mat. Good. Take a step again to the right. Place your hands onto your hips. Nice wide stance. We'll go for our forward folds. So 4 forward folds with the legs wide. Have your toes turned in. Lengthen, lift. Fold forward. You can have your knees bent. Place your fingertips onto the mat. Walk your fingertips back now until your fingertips are in line with your toes. Your hands are about shoulder distance apart, yeah? So they're not coming too far away from each other. If possible, press your palms down. And then take another inhale. You lengthen, lift, looking forward slightly, but keep your neck long. And then fold forward all the way. Relax your head. Hold here. Neck is long. The crown of the head comes towards the mat. You're aiming towards bringing the crown of the head onto the mat. Once your palms are flat on the mat, bend the elbows backwards. So not sideways, they're bending backwards. Holding here. And then lengthen, lift. Hold here for a moment. Place your hands onto your hips and then come up. So I've gone quite wide now with my feet. I need to come up a little bit. Make sure the toes are still turned inwards. For the next one, the hands stay on the hips. Lengthen, fold forward, keep your hands onto your hips. Relax your head down. Do not move your hands, please. However, start to bend the elbows up towards the ceiling. Hold here. Maybe shift the weight forward a little bit. Maybe straighten out the legs a little bit more. For 2 more. And 1. Slowly come up, up, up. Good. Extend your arms. Interlace your hands behind you. Straighten out your arms. Lift your chest. Take an inhale. On your exhale, you fold forward. Take your arms with you over your head. Relax your neck. Hold here. And breathe. So I know it's quite a lot to ask. To stay with you, Ujjayi breathing. Just do your best. I try and remind you now and then. For 2 more. And 1. Slowly come up. Place your hands onto your hips. Check your feet. If the toes have turned outwards, bring them turning inwards again. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Fold forward. This time, you take your 2 peace fingers and your thumb and catch your big toes. Holding here. Then you lengthen, lift, look forward. On your exhale, you relax your head down. So getting hold of your big toes, crown of the head towards the mat. Then maybe bend the elbows. And if you're bending them, bend them sideways. Hold here. Ujjayi breathing. For 3 more. 2. And 1. Lengthen, lift. Hands into your hips. Come all the way up. Samasthiti here, top of the mat. Again, take a step to the right. Not a wide stance now. Place your hands into your hips for now. Square your hips. So your right toes face forward and your left foot comes further to the left. Hips face towards the short side of the mat. Place your palms together behind your back. Fingers facing up if you can. If that's too much, fingers facing down. Press your palms. Do a tiny, tiny twist so your torso is centered over your right leg. Inhale. On your exhale, fold forward. So you're folding over your right leg. Look towards your right big toes. Palms press and elbows lift. Hold here. For 3 more. 2. And 1. Come up. Pivot your feet around to the other side. Keep your hands as they are. So stance is not too wide. Both legs are straight. If possible, hips face forward. Inhale and exhale. Fold forward over your left leg. So your torso is centered over your left leg. Press your palms. Lift your elbows up. Gazes your big toes. Hold here. For 3 more. 2. And 1. Slowly come up. Samasthiti here. Step to the top of the mat. And then release. So shake out your wrist. Take a moment here. If you do need a sip of water, now is a good time. And we're going to come to our balancing series. So the first one is this one where you take the big toes. Okay, so I'll go nice and slow. I try anyway. You start by balancing on the left leg. Tailbone long, ribs together. Bring your right knee into the chest. Get hold of your big toe, middle index finger and thumb. So your arm comes inside your knee. You can stay here. That's absolutely fine. Or you start to lift your heel up and straighten your leg. So if you're here, again, that's absolutely plenty. But give it a go. Otherwise, you'll never get your legs straight. Yes, so you can also lift a little bit higher. Holding here. Woo.
Keep your balance. And then take your leg to the side, not too far. Your hips still face forward. Hold here. And then bring your leg forward again. Now let go of your big toe. Both hands onto your hips. Point your toes. Stay straight, so no leaning backwards. Hold here for 3 more, 2 and 1, and release. All right, so this is strengthening, as you can feel it, for the top of the leg. Other side, so lift your knee up, bring your knee towards the chest, and then get hold of your big toes. Your arm is on the inside. Holding here, shoulders away from the ears. Keep your back as straight as you can. Oh, I'm cheating, holding on to something. Or you can lift the heel up. If you do that, again, try not to pull forward too much and desperately get the leg straight. Instead, stay as upright as possible. And then take your leg to the side. Make sure, again, you're not coming too wide. The hips are still facing forward. Hold here. And then bring the leg facing forward again. Now release, both hands onto your hips, point your toes. Stay straight, hold here for 3 more, 2 and 1, and release. Relax your legs. The next one, if it's a little bit much on the knees, you can do a tree pose instead. I think you're all familiar with tree pose. For the next one, you need to come into a half lotus. So balancing, which one did we start with? On the right leg. Bring your left knee into the chest, get hold of the ankle, get hold of the knee, cradle the leg, and you're bringing the leg into a half lotus. This is probably enough for you. You simply stay here, feel the stretch in your hips. If you want to move on, you take your left arm behind you, catching the top of your left foot. Yeah? And then the next step would be folding forward, but we're not going to do that today. So holding here, enjoy the stretch in your hips, and then gently release. Other side, so lifting the knee, get hold of the ankle, maybe cradle the leg a little bit first, and then bring the leg into half lotus. So if you want to move on, you take your hand behind you, catching the top of your foot, and maybe folding forward, or simply stay here in your balance, and release. Shake out your legs. And then if you're not there, I'm moving around all over the place. You come to the top of the mat. We'll do Utkatasana, chair pose, and sun salutation 3. And then we come to our seated sequence. Take an inhale, bend your knees, come into a chair, fold forward, exhale. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, step back into plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Exhale, lower all the way. Point your toes, coming into cobra. Inhale and exhale, downward facing dog. We will not stay in down dog. Instead, look towards your hands. Step, walk or hop your feet forward. Bring your feet together. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, fold and bend your knees. Come into chair pose. Hold here for 5. Sink a little deeper. Weight is in your heels. Ribs together, tailbone long. 3, 2, and 1. Inhale and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Exhale, step back, plank pose. Inhale, shoulders forward, knees down. Bend the elbows. Point your toes. Cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Warrior 1, right side. So right foot forward, maybe behind your wrist. And then left heel down. Feet on train tracks. Come up. Bring your palms together. Gazes up. Hips, chest face forward. Front leg is bent. Back leg is super straight. So press the outer edge of your left foot down. Holding here. And we're coming around to the other side. So you straighten your front leg. Pivot your feet around. You need to adjust your feet a little bit. And then bend your left leg. Holding here. Hips forward, arms are straight, gazes up. Hold here for 3 more. 2. Warrior 2. Straighten your front leg. Open your arms, hips, chest. Pivot your foot in a little bit, maybe a bit further forward, because stance is wider in warrior two. And then bend your front leg. Hold here. Ankle and knee are stacked. Reach forward and backwards at the same time. Shoulders are above the hips. Tailbone, long ribs together. Back leg is super straight. Hold here. And then pivot your feet around to the other side. Straighten out your left leg. Pivot your feet around. And bend your right leg. Warrior two. Holding here. Knees above the ankle. Your right toes face forward. Left leg is straight. Press the outer edge of your foot down. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, vinyasa. Both hands come down. Step back, plank. Shoulders forward, knees down. Lower all the way. Point your toes. Lift up. Inhale and exhale. Come into your downward facing dog. So from down dog, we're coming to our seated sequence. You can lower down your knees, swing your legs around, come sitting down. You can also lower down your knees, crossing your shins, rolling over the hips. You can also jump into a cross-legged position. All right, so come sitting down. If you want to have a sip of water, do that. And then we move on to our seated sequence. The first pose in our seated sequence is Dandasana, staff posture. It may look like just sitting around. However, it's quite a strong pose. So sitting straight, remove the flesh from your sitting bones. Flex your feet. Place your hands next to your hips. Shoulders relaxed. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Your legs are engaged. Holding here. If this is too much, you bend your knees. But aim to sit upright. So not rounding and leaning back. Hold here. Then take your arms up. Hinging from your hips, fold forward. Get hold of your big toes, middle index finger and thumb. Lengthen, lift, inhale. On your exhale, you fold forward. Keep your back straight, gazes your big toes. So avoid rounding the back. Bend your knees as much as you need to. If this comes easy to you, you can start to straighten out your legs. But stay with the gaze forward. Instead, use your fingers to pull yourself a little bit deeper into your forward fold. And then slowly come up halfway. For the next one, I'm going to bend my knees. Place your hands over your feet until your toes touch your wrist, like we did earlier in our standing sequence. Inhale and exhale, fold forward. So again, if you'd rather have your legs straight, you can do that, but keep your back as straight as possible. Hold here. So deeper stretch in the calves. And quite enjoyable in a weird way. And then come up. For the last one, you take your hands, catch the outer edges of the feet. Inhale and exhale, fold forward. Hold here. Again, your gaze is the big toes. And maybe your legs go straight or you keep your knees bent. Yeah, so if you cannot reach your feet, you bend the knees. And then come up and release. The next one, easier version, you place your feet flat on the mat, taking your hands behind you, fingers face towards you, and you lift your hips up. However, I know you want to try the harder one. For the harder one, you have your legs straight, point your toes, zip your legs together, suck your belly in, and lift up until your toes are on the mat. You can have your gaze up or behind you. Hold here for 3 more. 2, hips a little bit higher, and 1. Slowly release. Now you would think seated sequence, it's all easy. I can relax a bit. However, there are vinyasas in between all the seated postures. We're not going to do all of them, but we'll do a few. You cross your shins. You roll over the hips if you can. Place your hands onto the mat. Step back into plank pose. Bring the shoulders forward, knees down, lower. Lift up cobra, downward facing dog.
And from down dog, you come to seated position again. You can lower down your knees, or you can give it a go and do a little jump. Okay. So for the next pose, you take your right leg, take your knee, take your ankle, cradle the leg, and bring the leg into half lotus. If that doesn't agree with you, ankle above the knee. However, if you can, you have the leg into a half lotus and the knee drops down. Your right leg, your left leg is straight, toes facing up. Good. You can hold here, maybe give it a go to fold forward. You can also reach behind you with the right hand, catching the foot, and then fold forward, catching the outer edge of the left foot with the left hand. Yeah. Or you simply stay here, maybe place your hands onto the mat. Holding here, and then come up. Release. So traditionally, you would do a vinyasa now. However, we're not going to do quite as many. So we'll skip this one. Take your knee and your ankle. So left leg now, cradle it. Then either ankle above knee, if that's better for you. Or you bring your leg into half lotus. So lean back slightly and the heel is kind of here, belly hip crease, and the heel is in the center of your thigh. So not too far to the side, not too far in, so you're twisting the ankle. And you fold forward. If you want to give it a go to reach behind for the foot, you could do that. Or simply stay here. And then slowly come up, lean back, gently release, and we'll do a vinyasa. You cross, place your hands onto the mat, lift the hips up, so press a bit, stepping back into a plank pose. From plank, shoulders forward, knees down, bend the elbows all the way. Point your toes, lift into a cobra, tug your toes under, seat to heel, downward facing dog. Back into a seated position. Take your right leg, bend the knee, and the heel this time comes towards your outer hip. This is quite intense for the knee. If this is not for you, maybe just do a Janishashasana, sole of the foot instead. Okay. If your calf is in the way, you can roll it out a little bit. If your knees are not next to each other, that's fine as well. But slowly you're moving towards bringing the knees next to each other. You're not sitting on your heel is next to the hip. Your left leg is straight, toes facing up. Take an inhale and exhale, fold forward. Hold here. I'm keeping my hands on the mat. If I take the foot, I kind of tilt over to the side. So if anyone feels strong enough to take the foot, you can do that. However, as an extra support, I suggest to keep the hands on the mat. And slowly lift up. Gently move slowly, release, and other side. So bending the knee backwards here onto your outer hips. Maybe lift your hips up briefly, lower down to even you out a little bit more. You can stay sitting or you fold forward. Hold here. So right leg is engaged, toes facing up. And then slowly come up. Gently release. Vinyasa. You're welcome to sit that one out. Hands to the mat. Lift the hips up. Step back. Plank pose. Bring your shoulders forward, knees down. Bend the elbows. Lower onto your belly. Point your toes. Lift up cobra. Lower your nose to hover. Press. Seat to heel. Tug your toes under, coming into a downward facing dog. Release the heels down. Back into seated position. Legs are straight. Bend the right leg. Place the sole of the foot against the left inner thigh. Sit up tall.
Take an inhale. On your exhale, you're folding forward. Torso is centered over your left leg. If possible, you catch the outer inner edge of your foot. So no fancy stuff here. No crossing off the wrist or anything else. Simply catching the outer inner edge of the foot. Your elbows bend downwards and they're hugging your calf. If you're not there, you keep your hands here. Keep your back as straight as possible. Gaze is your big toe. So in pretty much all of the forward folds here, the gaze is the big toe. That lovely pretty thing. And then lift, release, switching legs. Sit up tall and then fold forward over your right leg. So again, torso is centered over the leg. You're not folding forward in the middle. And either hands on the mat or you catch the outer inner edge of your foot. If you do that, take the ball of the foot and then pull the outer edge of the foot towards you a little bit more. Still keep looking forward unless you're really all the way down, and then it would hurt your neck. So you want to keep your neck long. Holding here. And then slowly come up and release. Vinyasa. Hands on the mat. Lift your hips, press the floor away from you. So you're working on your arm strength here, on your core strength as well. Step back, one leg, step back, the other leg. Come forward with the shoulders, place your knees down, lower all the way with control. Move slowly, guys. Point your toes, lift into cobra, and from there, come back into your downward facing dog. You can catch your breath here just for a moment. So we're not really taking breaks in down dog. And then come into a seated position again. So for the next one, it's a little bit awkward. Place the sole of your right foot against the left inner thigh. Now lift your hips up. Move forward until your heel is in your perineum. Yeah? Basically just in front of your butthole. So this is a good reminder of your Mula Bandha, of your root lock. So you're aiming to have the toes facing forward. So at the beginning, that's probably not possible. So if the toes face to the side, that's fine as well. So it feels maybe a little bit painful on the top of your foot. You can stay here, support yourself. Or if possible, you're folding forward over your leg. Hold here, not staying here for too long. And then lift. And release. Go back and then switch sides. Lift, come forward, lower. Maybe stay here until you're familiar with that sensation. I know, it's a funny one. Or you can fold forward. Hold here. So don't overdo it with a forward fold. And then slowly come up. Release. Let's skip the vinyasa and get the awkward stuff out of the way. Actually, I should say that. So if the next one is not for you, what you can do, you sit here with the toes tucked under. Okay, so if you'd rather do that, you do that. However, if possible, you take your right heel, the other arm comes underneath, got it? Take the inner edge of the foot and then you're guiding the heel up and the toes down. Lean back slightly, leaning back, and then spread your toes on the mat. Bring the sole of the foot against the inner thigh. Maybe you can also move the leg out of the way and then simply bring it back. So this may be enough. See what your knee says to this. If you want to move on, you lift the hips up and scooch forward a little bit. Yeah, and that way you feel a much more intense stretch in the toes. So really your little toes, they get a good stretch here, but it's also much more intense on the knee. You can stay here. You can also come into a forward fold. So I haven't done that in a while, so I'm gonna stay upright. Listen to your body, guys. You don't have to do the whole full pose every time. And then slowly release. Take a moment Oh, can you feel that in your toes? So this is a good one for your balances, and also to counteract the bad effects that shoes have on you. Other side. So get hold of the heel with the right hand. The left arm goes underneath. Take the inner edge of the foot, guide the toes down. Yeah, so I'm going to move my leg out of the way. Spread your toes. So it's important that the little toe spreads here as well. And then I simply bring my leg back. You can stay here or you lift, scooch forward a little bit. See what works best for you. And then either you're holding here, sitting upright, or you're folding forward. Okay. 4, 2 more, and 1. Release. Vinyasa. I think now we need one. So place your hands onto the mat. Don't get sloppy on me. Lift up, step back, plank pose. Shoulders forward, knees down. Still, slowly and with control, you lower, lower, lower. Point your toes, lift up into cobra, neck stays long, and back into your downward facing dog. As always, we're not hanging out here in down dog. Instead, come back into your seated position. Legs are straight. Now bend your right leg. Place the foot flat on the mat. Your heel comes towards your outer hip. So you have a good hand's distance between your foot and your inner thigh. Okay? So knees out of the way. Try and have the toes facing forward, which can be a little bit difficult. And your arm and your shoulders are inside. Good. Take a few inhales here and exhales as well, not just inhales. And you can fold forward here. That's enough. Maybe extending the arms to the side. So if you're not binding, you're here. You're working towards folding forward more and more. Right? However, if you want to give it a go to bind, take your right arm up. You're reaching forward as far as you can. So that is important, that you're really reaching forward. It's not just a bind, it's a forward fold. You reach, and once you're here, don't come up to bind. You stay forward, and then you're wrapping the arm around and maybe taking your fingers behind you. Your right butt cheek is off the mat. So you're leaning on your left side. Your left foot is flexed and you're still folding forward, forward, forward. Your knee and ankle are stacked on top of each other, of your right leg. Your right toes are still facing forward. I know this is a lot. Do your best. And then slowly come up and release. Ho-ho. Other side. So foot flat on the mat. Toes face forward, and you have a good hand's distance between your inner thigh and the foot. Your left butt cheek comes off the mat, and it stays off the mat. You can fold forward here, maybe extending the arms to the side, or left arm up, inhale. On your exhale, you reach forward. Reach your hand beyond your foot, and then maybe wrap around, take your fingers, and keep folding over your straight leg. Your left butt cheek stays off the mat. You're leaning on your right side. Flex your right foot. Hold here. Your left knee and your left ankle are stacked on top of each other. Keep it that way so it doesn't drop to the side. Stay grounded through the sole of your left foot. And then come up. Release. Vinyasa. Cross. Lift, step back, shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way. Point your toes, lift up, and then come into your downward facing dog. From down dog, back into seated position. And the next pose, it's one of my favorite. It's quite hard, so let's move slowly. How do we start this one? Yeah, okay. So your left leg is bent and you place the ankle above the right knee. Yeah, you're following me so far? Foot is flexed. No twisting of the ankle. Foot is flexed and the ankle is above the knee. It's not it's not on top of the knee, okay? Take the hands behind you. Stand up your right foot and then press your chest forward. You can stay here. If you know your hips are a little bit tight or your knees don't agree with anything deeper, you do this and you hold that. However, if you want to give it a go, it's good fun. You bring the leg into half lotus, lean back for that. Release the knee down. No twisting of the ankle. The foot doesn't hang here and it's not there. The heel is in the center of the thigh. Relax the knee down. You're standing up, your right foot now. Okay, again, you can stay here. Or you walk your hands over towards the left. Make sure your knee and your ankle are on top of each other. Your butt cheek is off the mat. You're leaning on your left side. Now walk your hands forward a little bit. Good. You can stay here. So at any point, if it's too much, you stop. Or you wrap around. So right arm comes forward and you're bending the elbow backwards. And you're catching your fingers. Remember, your right butt cheek is off the mat. You're simply leaning on your left side. So left knee, left thigh, left hip. Hold here and then release. Wasn't that fun? Relax. Other side. So first, start easy. Take the leg, ankle above knee, hands go behind you. Stand up your left foot and press the chest forward. This is a good practice actually. So if you're working on this pose, I have a separate video where we go through my Ashtanga B. That's what it's called, my Ashtanga B. Step by step. If you're interested in that, have a look, check it out. It's quite hardcore though. Okay, so if you want to move on, you bring that leg into half lotus, drop the knee down. Got it? Stand up, your left foot. Walk your hands over towards the right. So your right knee, your right thigh is on the mat. Your left butt cheek is off the mat. Stay here or give it a go. Walk your hands forward. So you're forward folding. You're wrapping around, taking your fingers. If you have your fingers, you can relax your head down. So you're wrapped up like a lovely little surprise present. Lovely little parcel. And when you've had enough, you release and relax your legs. Vinyasa. Cross. Lift. If you feel energetic, you jump back. Bring your shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, lift up into cobra. Seat to heel, downward facing dog. So that was it with the crazy poses. Pedal your feet and then come back into your seated position. So no more funny surprises here. Have your legs straight for now. Sit up tall, bend your knees for that if you need to. And then place your right foot on the mat. Again, sit up tall. If the heel is too close towards you and you're rounding the back, bring the foot further forward. Take your right hand behind you, left arm up. Inhale and exhale, we twist. You're pressing your left elbow against the right thigh. Sit up tall. Engage your left leg. So left foot is flexed. Hold here. Press your elbow against the knee. If too much, you hug your knee. Hold here. Oh, that feels nice. And then come forward, switching sides. Take your hand behind you. Right arm up, inhale and exhale. So either you hug your knee or you press your elbow against the knee. Holding here. Your right leg is straight. Sit up as tall as you can. Belly out of the way. Enjoy the stretch. Couple more inhales and exhales. And release. Cross. Lift. Are you getting tired? If you're getting tired, please do skip them. Skip the vinyasa. Step back. I don't want you to do sloppy vinyasas. Shoulders forward, knees down, lower. Point your toes. Come into cobra.
downward facing dog. From down dog into seated position and boat pose. Extend your legs, lifting the feet up. Have your knees bent, getting a hold of the thighs. You can stay here, or you extend the arms forward. If you want to go crazy, you can also straighten out your legs. I'm going to keep my knees bent today. Hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Cross, lift. So if you have short arms, you can keep your fingers, just the fingers on the mat, to lift and lower down. And again, hold here. So 5 inhales, exhales, approximately. Traditionally, you do 5 rounds of that. We will do 3. Cross, lift, lower. 1 more. Holding here. 2 more. And 1. Cross, lift, lower. Vinyasa, if you can, hands on the mat. Lift, step back, shoulders forward, knees down, lower all the way onto your belly. Point your toes, lift up into a cobra, and from there, come into your downward facing dog. From down dog, back into a seated position. And we will do our finishing poses, at least a few of them. Come laying down onto your back for that. So, swing my legs around. Extend the arms forward. And then slowly, slowly lower down. That feels good. Place your feet onto the mat. Knees are bent and heels come close towards your hips. Maybe you can reach your heels with the fingertips. Press your feet down. Have your feet about hip distance apart and parallel to each other. And then tuck your tailbone under. Raise your lower hips. No, lower hips. Your hips, your lower back, middle back, upper back, up. You can stay here or interlace your hands. Lift your hips higher. Wiggle your shoulders. And hold here. And slowly, first release your hands, then your shoulders, vertebra for vertebra, lower down all the way. We'll do 1 more. Start to tuck your tailbone under, raise your hips, lower back, middle back, upper back, up. Interlace your hands, wiggle your shoulders, press your feet down, hold here. Chest comes towards your chin. And release. First the hands, then the shoulders, and then slowly lower down completely. Take a moment here. I don't want to do an inversion with you. I think it's too much, especially if you're new to yoga and if you don't have anyone there to support you. So you would do a shoulder stand. Quite often you do a headstand as well. We're not going to do either. Instead, simply raise your legs up towards the ceiling. You can have your knees bent if it's too much to have your legs straight. Hold here. And then bend your knees. Bring your knees to your chest. Go from side to side a few times. Start to rock forwards and backwards until you are in a seated position. Cross your legs. Sit up tall. Take your hands behind you. Catch your opposite elbows. Inhale and exhale. Fold forward here. Relax your neck. For 3 more. 2. And 1. Slowly come up. Release your hands. Place them onto the mat next to you. Close your eyes for a moment. And gently blink your eyes open.
lift your knees up, press your palms down, lift your hips up. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And release, hips come down. Place your palms together in front of your heart. Stay here for a moment. I suggest you do Shavasana. Take some rest. But before you do that, I'm going to leave you. Gently blink your eyes open. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. I hope you too. And I hope you're not feeling too sore. So keep practicing that. I'm going to do a video where it's a little bit more intermediate. So once you want to move on, you can do that. Practice your chaturangas. Work on your core strength. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Namaste.